I had Uncle Dave. Oh, Uncle Dave shows nothing. We're doing a little test here. We're just playing around. We are supposedly live. And let's go ahead and just play a little bit of SOS just to see here if this works, which is not. I don't think my camera's working. So if I go to the Genie, right?
To our products, we're going to end up like the Model T, and not everybody can drive a black Model T. Okay. So we need some color, we need some technology, and that's what we're all about, bringing all that together, and remembering our true focus, which is we are a garage door opener company. It's just that we have a lot of technology built into it.
Yeah, and the reason why that is so powerful, in my opinion, is because there's no doubt that there's a lot of, I would say, a lot of people working on a specific Genie product, or perhaps maybe testing a specific Genie situation. Nevertheless, more views would definitely contribute to the conversation, at least, to make Genie that much more innovative, no pun intended, for the world. Now, could we just reframe a little bit on the Trek Center? And we know that the Trek Center has a specific purpose as well. How does that work in with the Innovation Center? What is the Trek Center? How does it work together?
The Trek Center is all about testing, reliability, quality, and evaluation. So we're able to take things and test them to ASTM and DASMA standards. So to actually run tests like UL does or ISO does and things like that. So we can replicate desert conditions up to 150 degrees. So we're able to heat test, life cycle test, cold test. We're able to do a lot of things in there. So the beauty of having the innovation here, the Innovation Center together with it, is we're able to go downstairs, do some testing, come back up, do our minds together, and be together. There are times where we work on things, we like to call it voice of the customer. The customer says, hey, we have a problem, or hey, we would
that might have been worse.
We're able to go downstairs, actually replicate it, do it, fix it, come back up and say, okay, is this something we can do? Will this accommodate everybody? Is this the right thing for Genie to do? And those are the things that we do.
That is amazing. So just listening to you right there, something that came into my mind was literally every Genie product that has come out on the pro side, on the retail side, was tested at this facility. Now, the hours that go into that, tell me, is it like a little test? Is it just like what are we talking about?
Life cycle test start.
Is it like a little test? Is it just like what are we talking about?
Life cycle test start.
How do we? I don't know why my audio, or not audio, but video is not working. Let's go like this. I'm showing darkness on my end, which is awesome. So I was waiting for a telephone call from a gentleman, but that I think he forgot. So I was playing around with this. Now, let me check. We'll check the old settings here. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody had a productive day. Tony, what's it like on your end out there? What's slammed? Just trugging along. What's your take? I haven't heard too much from you. Apologize. Let me try to do this. If I click this, why has it got two Uncle Daves? If I go like this, that does nothing. Stop. I can do screen. I can do settings. Let me check the settings. Camera. What's up, camera? Integrated. Well, there ain't going to be nothing. Let's do the pro. Well, there's that good looking dude. All right, let's go back here. All right. And if I go like this, it's not that I want a full screen layout. What is this? Perfect. It's kind of working. I really got to get a headset so I can hear myself if audio's working and all that good stuff. I was hoping maybe Evan was going to jump in and say hi. He supposedly he ended up doing a long distance loser today, and I was curious how that took place. Honestly, let me see if I can read his text here. He's got to be towards the top, right? Right. What's he got on here? He says, well, I got my first long distance loser today. Install on the books. Install on the books. Sounds like he had something to do with a Genie Silent Max, I believe. And I was thinking, well, did he not get pictures? I don't know if it'll show. I didn't put it in part of this seminar. Like I said, we're just testing the audio on this. I can't figure out why the audio still don't sound real crisp. Let me see if I can find it. Don't want to share his information, you know what I mean, without permission. So you can't really see, but I'll tell you, it looks like it's about a 9x7 door and 3 panels, maybe besides the top panel, is kinked. They're all kinked. That's all we got for pictures. So that's kind of a mess. You know what I mean? That is just kind of a bloody mess. Not good. Not good. It was the 16th too. Rusty, what's going on out in your world? Did you get everything going today? Everything goes smooth for a Monday? Oh, it's Monday. It is a Monday. I'll probably play some more audio here while we're just idling so I can listen. I can't play them from this screen, but I can play them from this screen.
And we'll put up out of every batch, an opener will come here and we'll put them up and they'll run for 30, 40,000 cycles. Sometimes we try to see how much life cycle we get out of them. So they're running for weeks, if not months at a time. So there is a lot of testing going on.
That's amazing. So to me, you know, I've been in this game for a while already. So if, you know, I can go back to the old 8600s to the, you know, to the first versions of the 2028, the 21, or I should say the 3120, and of course the wall mount garage door opener has been tested here on this facility as well.
Crummy part of that, can't really hear.
When I think about that, it's funny. As a garage door guy, garage door professional, I don't necessarily think in terms that this product has gone under that testing. So something that comes to mind is, how important is it for dealers to be aware of the strenuous and long-lasting work that Genie is doing here?
A dealer, it's important to a dealer because, like every great company out there, you have to know what they're doing, what their vision is, where they're going in the future. And if you look at history of any great company, I mean, you're always going to have ups and downs. Like I always like to say, Ford made a wonderful Pinto and Maverick, but they would blow up. But yet today they're number one Ford selling cars. And it's like every.
I don't know about Ford having the number one selling cars right now. I don't know. They got the most recalls, I heard. Rusty's got. I can throw Rusty up here, can I? Can I throw Rusty up here? Bam. After the ATS install, brother had service calls. Excuse me. I had an estimate for openers and sold 2 more than 98022, and then went and gave an estimate for 2 9x8s. Oh. And 2 8900 waiting to hear. Those are all Those are all wall mounts, right? I'll check. 98022. Wall mounts. Why so many wall mounts? I'm just curious, Rusty. Let's see here. Molly, let's see here. Looks like the day got full with service calls as well. Checking on the thing. What's it got? Then spring call, it was high lift, and they were binding, added a half turn, stretch them, and oiled only 1 minute. Ooh, so less than 5 minutes famous, man. 5 minutes. You were a minute famous. What you got for these? Because they are awesome. They work good, free up space, make more installing them. But I show people my price list and they choose. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I just can't for some reason. I don't know why. I just cannot get on board with those jack shafts. Not unless they I mean, because what do you do? I mean, it can't be all these garages that you go to were built with the outlets. So I mean, you got to run, extension cords, I'm assuming, to a power source. So I'm trying to think what else is normally all got the side lock gizmo. So that's prone to failure to me, that side lock. I don't like that thing. Trying to think about I feel like the disconnects are simpler in a sense. They make more sense. I mean, the ones on the jack shafts aren't that bad, but they can be a little confusing. I remember when I first did my first one and it wouldn't I was sweating bullets, man. It was a hot summer day and I'm like, what is wrong with this thing? I even called tech support and tech support couldn't help me. They're like, yeah, it must have a bad board. And then finally, I know it was gosh, it was all 6, 7, 8 o'clock. It was this time of the evening, where we got a lot of daylight, hot summertime. And for some reason I grabbed the disconnect and I pulled down on it and it was click, click. And I went, oh my gosh. I went, no way. This thing wasn't engaged. I was like, son of a biscuit. Run a core, staple it nicely. What's it say? Staple it nice and have customer run an outlet. Ooh, my customers would not do that. They'd be like, no. They'd be like, can you do it? I'm like, I'm not an electrician. And then sometimes if you got them built, if they're built or whatever you call them, the built-in, I don't know. Like I said, I just still can't get on board with them. I don't know what, like I said, they're not horrible. I just don't like, cause what do they do with cause then you got to put the light somewhere. Well, I guess you put the light right in the outlet above. I don't know. I can't think of any other thing on it right off the top of my head. Oh, this one shows me. Why is this one showing me in my live? Interesting. I click on this. See if I can play. See if this will play.
We work with and interact with. So, for example, alarm.com. So you can now turn on your alarm system, open and close your garage door, look at your front doorbell, turn on your lights, turn on your thermostat. There's so many things you can do.
I'm going to have to check in some headsets, I think. And I lost where Mr. Rusty was at. Dun, dun, dun. Genie, and it's only LiftMaster, right? You won't install none of the Genie screw drives. Tomorrow, WD, there's that. Let me go back to this, see if I can find it here. Perfect. Oh, that's right. Tony jumped in. Tony still never gave me a pulse on the economy. He done skunked me again on it. I'm gonna have to text him. Say, what's going on? He's probably playing his game there. He's racing. I have came up with a conclusion too, and that's why I kind of labeled this as it was a test, and it's for time. I was driving around today, and I was telling myself, I said, you know what? I said, there is a time to be on the road. I've came to the determination that there is a certain time to be on the road. So if you're seasoned or if you're starting out, I think my live, let me check here. There we go. I hope. Let's go back. We're going to go full screen. So when you're traveling, I have determined, it seems like 9 to 2, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Those are your windows that if you got to go get parts, you got to get material, you got to go to vendors, 9 to 2. You start hitting about that 2:30 mark, things change. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear anybody comes across this. If they watch this, I would love to hear your opinion because I've always wondered about it and never had anybody share it with me or talk to me or say, here's the reasons why. But I'm on the road. You know, I've been on the road quite a bit over the years. And my theory is that, you know, you normally you get your, oh gosh, what times it start? Probably about 5 a.m., right? You get the 5 a.m.ers that are heading in, the first shifters and all that kind of stuff. So you got 5, 6, 7, all the way up till about, 9 o'clock. Because 9 o'clock, that's about when the bankers and stuff, right? Those big secretary people, they got to be in, right? 9 o'clock, got to be at the bank. The bank's open 9 to 5. So once you get past that 9 o'clock, the roads, it mellows out so much and it just turns into way more relaxed people because it's like everybody that's out there is either like contractors, grandma and grandpa, or it's like they're being paid to be on the road. Does that make sense? Like they're being paid by a company to do a job, either, government, they're out measuring, they're out doing something, they're service, call people, whatever. And it's way more mellow. But once you start hitting about that 2:30, man, you can tell. It's like all of a sudden these little zigzag cars start coming out, right? The big biker guys start coming out with the big Harleys and everything, and motorcycles, Hondas, everything else. And it's like, yeah, it's time to stay off the road because this is when the traffic jams are going to start hitting. But anyways, I was thinking about that today. I just saw it. Because you can fight. There's just certain things you can't fight. My one buddy was laughing actually about it because I told him, I said, don't you get kind of irritated sometimes? I said, you know how it is? Like you get stuck in a traffic jam and you're like, oh, I don't get paid for this, He's like, oh, he goes, I totally get the feeling. I'm like, you're supposed to be a 30, 45-minute drive or whatever. And now it took you like 2 hours because of traffic. It's never fun. So we won't keep it too long. Like I said, I just want to jump on here. It sounds like the audio is working. I think I figured it out for this next round, whenever that time may be. I just thought I'd sneak in here and say hello. I got a few things to still wrap up before the sun goes down. You know how that kind of stuff goes. I don't think Tony's here. Like I said, he never said nothing about. Maybe he'll come back in at some point and watch it and tell me give me a text message, see how the old economy's doing down in his neck of the woods, you know. The Kings, right? That's what they got on here. Doors. What else am I looking at? I might try to play. Let's see if I can play with this. Just one more. I want to see if I can hear it again.
Do with this, and that was the sites that we had for Aladdin, was to be able to control your house and be able to be on the same platform, so people don't have to buy, for example, a camera made by Genie. We don't make cameras.
Screen,
we don't want to get into that business,
screen.
but we do want you to be able to use your cameras and interconnect with our products. So that's what it's all about, connecting everything up together.
You know, just listening to you just say that right there, it helps me to understand that as a dealer contractor, I can give my customer options. And knowing that Genie Aladdin Connect has that availability. For example, Aladdin Connect works with Alexa, works with Google Home.
Certified with them too.
Why is that important?
That's important because Alexa and Google have given their blessing and said, yes, you guys are totally certified with our products.
That's awesome. So then in turn, we're able to, as dealer contractors, communicate that with the community, communicate that with our customers. Hey, listen, if you're looking for a garage door opener that is connected to all of your smart home appliances, connected to your smart home ecosystem, Aladdin Connect is going to play nice with all of the other innovation that you have in your home.
If you look at, for example, smart things, you can go home, you can control your TV from your app. You're going to open your garage door, do your thermostats.
All right, SOS, don't be mad at me. I love you.
Turn on your lights. You can do
promoting you here. I wanted to.
It's just an incredible, and it's so amazing.
Use you. So he's got some great stuff, doesn't he? What do I do? Full screen. Bada bing, bada boom. Love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, and just remember, you know, you guys are always more than welcome to. So a lot of guys got it down, right? They'll actually, the best way to always do it is they'll actually text me and they'll say, "Hey, can I give you a phone call?" Which is always the best. It's like make an appointment, right? Because like I'm not gonna be sitting here when I shut this thing down. You know, I'm gonna be underneath a truck or building a trailer or moving a piece of equipment or dealing with something loud like an air compressor or something. But make sure you always got to remember, you got to be punctual about it. You know what I mean? Like it's good to be on time. It's good to set the parameters a little bit because sometimes, you know, I don't have a lot of time. Like I said, I'm over the hill, man. It's going fast. Just kidding. I'm just having a little fun. Anywho, I'll get out of here. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Rusty, for letting me know on the wall mounts. Like I said, if they're working good, that's good. I still can't really get on board with them. Like I said, you know, we got the cheaper customers over here. We could obviously it costs more, you know what I mean? But they are clean. They're clean, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Like I said, it just still doesn't feel like it's always the right way to move it. But it's not to say it's not right for you or your customers, because I do believe, you know, it works. I mean, and you give them options, I mean, you can't complain. I mean, give them options, so it's up to them, man. It's in their wheelhouse. And if they like it, they like it. I just wonder if they more or less I wonder what goes through the customer's mind. That's what always gets me. Like, I'm always like, because I used to get a lot of customers, like when they're promoting them, they're like, you know, I want this like new opener. And I'm like, do you? I'm like, do you? Like, it costs more. Oh, well, how much more? You know, well, it's like, you know, whatever, you know, $400 more. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want it. You know, and then it's, and then it was like, then the outlet stuff always came up, a little bit, and then they have to run extension cord. I used to start carrying extension cords on my truck. I would sell them extension cords, $15, $20. I was buying them at the store, and I'd sell them an extension cord. And that way, because once I set it, I was always nervous, right? I don't know if anybody else has ever had that problem, but if you set them when they're fresh and then you unplug them, I can't guarantee they're going to keep the memory. It's like I don't know what the limit is. I wish LiftMaster would come out like a video, or somebody would find something that says the opener has to be on for at least an hour to reconfirm the limits, or to charge the battery or whatever's inside. Because honestly, I don't even know how it keeps the memory. It's got to be charging a little battery inside somewhere to keep the memory on those boards. And maybe, depending on how long some have sat and how much you let it plugged it in and it didn't charge enough and it didn't keep it. But I just don't trust them. So I'm always like, once I set it, I want to kind of forget it and let it run, so that way it builds in that whole merit with the customer, right? That whole mindset. So they go, well, I mean, it ran fine for 2 months until I changed that cord. We got the electrician out here, and it's like, so it wasn't me. I wasn't when I left. I left it plugged in, you know what I mean? But by the way, that on your bill, it's $15, $20 for that extension cord, because, you drape it or whatever, zip tie it to the track or however you got to do it to get it over there. And then depending on some of the customers too, a lot of, some have the drywall, all the wires are built in, and it's like, I'm not draping wires all over. So I just, boom, put it right back in the center, if it's what they have, a trolley. But you know how it goes. Every situation is different. Oh, man, maybe I'll stick around for a second. Evan finally popped in. Evan, I was mentioning your long-distance loser. I didn't quite know how that all played out. For one, you know how it is. As always, as Uncle Dave style, I got to grill you, man. Did you get pictures? I mean, I know you sent me the picture, but did you get pictures before you went to this customer? How did this play out? What's the resolution? How are you going to fix it? Did you fix it? Are you getting parts? We must know as a society. I think it messes with the travel module wheels when you throw them up and down. So Rusty, you're thinking they get messed up if you're moving them without power? Could be. Genie's got a little weird. The only time I ever had it happen, this is on a Genie commercial. And I remember a guy, they had a huge, I mean, this building is like, it was huge. It was like 100 or 120 foot long, super long. And they had like an extension cord coming from the office, running up in the rafters all the way out there. I mean, as heavy gauge as you could pretty much use, but they had extension cord plugged into another extension. And then we got our opener, and somehow I got that opener to run. You know what I mean? It would run. And I remember they had like 3 cords, and only one of the cords would the opener would accept and it would run on it. And somehow they unplugged it or did something. Well, he must have hooked it into the wrong one that was low voltage, or not low voltage, but it was detecting brownout. And I remember he calls me and he threw the cables. It was on, it had high lift in it, big commercial door, probably at least a 14. It was at least a 14 by 14. And I'm like, he's like, calls me up and he's like, hey, I got a problem. I'm like, what? And he goes, I threw the cables off this door. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, how in the heck did that happen? I'm like, I'm the one that programmed it. And I'm like, there's no way. So they get these weird little ghosts in them. Oh, there you go. So, okay. Okay, perfect. Rich B, early tonight. I know. I jumped on just doing a little test with some audio with Mr. SOS video and stuff, and it seems to be working. But yeah, I don't know what was going on yesterday. Yesterday was just horrible. Sometimes you just want to chuck the phone. I haven't scoped it out yet. Just gonna place everything. Nice. Is this so Evan, did you go or did Pops go on this one? I'm just curious. But I think that's the right thing to do. Just replace it all. That way it got all new, got all fresh. I zoomed in on that picture. I could see it has that goofy weather seal still on the old door, that metal, man. It's just must be a thing up in Canada. They got that weird weather seal. Or I guess we have the weird weather seal. One or the other. I don't know. It's just like metal and seal and screwing it in. It seems so caveman to me. I don't know. I mean, it might be better. It might be better. Hey, it's more crisp. You know, I guess. I don't know. Would have been cool if we got some pictures of the inside of the that Genie. Was it a Silent Max or something like that? You said? I can't remember. Or what was the reason? What was the reason, Evan? Why'd you call it? Why was it kind of a long distance loser? I mean, what'd you say? An hour and a half away? If I knew how to run this thing a little bit better, I'd just like say, so the Silent Max 1000 is what the guy said. Oh, okay. Now things are coming together. So this is probably a picture from the customer. Oh. So you think it's the 5G, or I think that's what the problem is, Rich? I have no clue, dude. Like, I've seemed like I've been inside because my phone normally will automatically hook to the Wi-Fi, and so then it's like I got Wi-Fi there, I got 5G there, and I got LTE there. It's like I'm right in the dividing line between which tower I'm bouncing on, you know. So it's either 5G or LTE, and then I got Wi-Fi. But I've been in the shop multiple times, you know, and that's when it's glitched out, and I thought I was on Wi-Fi, so I figured, hey, no more Wi-Fi. You know, that's what's screwing things up. And then the problem is if I'm outside, the Wi-Fi doesn't go through that building very good. We do have there is a signal, but that's for the cameras out by the road. But that's more of a direct. You got to have that thing direct. And I'm not in direct when I'm outside. So it's just weird. Ah, that's right. They're fighting. They're fighting each other. Darn right, man. They like I said, I'm still an LTE. I still like LTE. I think LTE works better. I remember the first time I got introduced to 5G. Maybe it's gotten better, but I was over by where was I at? I was over by the shop. There was a mall, and then I'm at the mall, and I remember I'm trying to like download something to like a YouTube to watch for like something. I'm doing something on the gate or something, or I can't remember, like sealant or something. And this thing will just, I mean, it will not load, man. It's just buzzing and buzzing. I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I said, you know, like, this is horrible. And I mean, I got full signal. I mean, I can see the tower. I'm looking at, you know, I mean, just like every time. Rusty. Oh man, I love it. I love it, man. The 3G, right? Visiting my wife. Hades is a good day when we have 3G. That means we can watch YouTube. Oh man. That's right. watch kung fu movies. I remember, I think it was was it the Evo? HTC Evo, I think it was. I don't remember if it was that one or not, but right in that era, right? I remember I ended up buying that phone, right? I bought the phone, right? Because man, that was the big thing, man. 3G was coming out, man. 3G. That's what what was it? Sprint, right? Sprint used to advertise 3G, we're coming out 3G. And bought the phone, and it must have been like a year and a half, 2 years before they ever came out with a 3G. Like I remember when I first seen the 3G was definitely a huge jump. I mean, that was like, wow, well, this puppy works, baby. Then what did we do? We went from 4G, and then we went to LTE or something like that. 4G, LTE, that I don't know, that all worked fine. But this 5G, I just can't say. Anytime, like me and the wife of Tron will even joke about it. It's like, oh, 5G. Well, it'll load when it loads, you know, like It's almost like it was too good. And they said, hey, we got to throttle this back. We can't let the peasants have this good of service. Kung Fu. What was a Motorola one? The Edge? I think so. Was that kind of like that weird slip out phone or whatever? I just remember it was Nokia, right? Nokia. Nextel. I think Nextel was my next one. Then what? BlackBerry, HTC Evo, and then it was Samsung, right? And I don't remember what the Samsung ones are. Can't remember. And then I went to the iPhone. And I still don't know. I mean, iPhone does do some pretty nifty things, but I don't know. My Samsung, I still think my Samsung had a better it did better for pictures and videos and stuff like that. I think I could switch the screen around, which I think maybe we can now, but I don't know. You know, the hype on this, you know, their cameras for the iPhones was not, the other one zoomed way better. Like when you tapped on it or it would focus, where like the iPhone's always like just feels like it's cross-eyed, you know? I know the Nextels were too good too. That's why they had to get rid of them. Nextels were great. The chirp and stuff with employees, and then they went to like the digital, and the digital one I tried, it was crummy. It was all glitching out. It just always like beep at you, like be pushing the button. You're like, God darn it, I might as well just text them. You know, this is taking forever. It's just beep, beep, beep. Won't go through because it ain't got the perfect signal. Where like the old Nextels, right? Those things, I mean, you could be out hunting, right? Hey, what you see over there? You know. Rusty says the iPhones can kind of see windows. See in the windows what I'd be working with. Oh, all right. Let's take a looky. Oh shoot, yeah, this picture is way different now. Way different. Kind of see. Look at that. It's got the crowns over it. Yeah, that picture shows a lot. I didn't know there was two doors. That means you can exercise in there. You can run around, do circles. So we're going to replace one door or replace two. We just still don't know. Looks like somebody either bought this or rehabbing it, possibly. I see an enclosed trailer. That's normally a key indication. The gravel's got a lot of weeds and stuff in it. So my guess is kind of like a foreclosed home or something like that. Evan, did you measure door size and headroom? Rusty, I haven't been out there yet. Nextels were great at amusement parks. Oh yeah, we got to watch it too. So if anybody's entertaining, right? What's the ones? The Rapid. Oh gosh, the Rapid radios or whatever. They're like supposedly are Grand Rapids, Michigan type thing. There's another company out there that actually is cheaper. That actually has basically the same ones, and they're unlocked, so you can like program or enter in. So I was like, wow, those ones seem a lot better. It's hard to beat though, because I've entertained, the phone, and it was it's hard to beat when it's only like, I think it's $30 a month for my phone. It's like, well, how do you beat $30? It's like, oh yeah. It says guy just wants the damaged door replaced. Okay. Since the house is sold. Oh, so hopefully everything lines up and we can get it done before the end of July. Whoa, dude. Whoa. So we gotta think of something. So just make sure, Evan, you use caution with that customer. Obviously make sure they purchase the door, or, what I mean, the half down, because you're in that weird turmoil, and then, it's one of those things you better make clear as day with the vendor. Because this could turn into one of those customers that's calling you every other day. Is the door in yet? Is the door in yet? And you're like, my goodness, I told you it would be in, we're not even close yet. I get nervous. There was a story I talked about. Ooh, Rusty nailed that one. Look at this. Rusty's got in here. Says, I would give him a ballpark over the phone. I better post this one up here, right? I would give him a ballpark over the phone before I drove out there to make sure he's serious. Ooh, man. Rusty, my hat's off to you, my friend. That's a good one. That's a good one. Absolutely. Pre-qualify the customer. And then what I would do to put a little cherry on the top of that, what I would probably be doing is I'd make sure that if the customer's okay, you'd give them a ballpark range. It could be 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever the number is going to be. Say you're looking somewhere in this ballpark, and he says that's fine. And it might even be something to take it a step farther. Since we're got the storm caps on here, possibly call the vendor, show them the picture, or we can estimate. I mean, let me check this. I mean, that's got to be, it's either 9 or 10 foot wide, or have the customer. I mean, everybody's got a tape measure. If not, the neighbor's got one. And have him give you the dimensions, and then call your vendor and just say, hey, what's the ballpark on this? And they go, oh, our vendor they're doing a shutdown this month. I mean, you never know. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, nothing surprises me nowadays. So you call them, just say, hey, what's the time frame on something like this? They say, hey, it's going to be a couple weeks. The most. Things have been going really good. So you get everything kind of sorted out. Just want to give him, just going to have him purchase it. I'll get the quote from hardware store and give it to him, have him pay for it. I already gave ballpark for labor. He said, great. Okay. And then I told him, contact him once I have a quote. I'll send the local hardware store one of the pictures to get the right door. Perfect. Yeah. Sometimes when you get, like I said, with this one, there's already, Uncle Dave's got the yellow flag kind of going like this. You know what I mean? Like, this is, when they try to sell something, and that stuff can all be changing behind the scenes without you even knowing. And then all of a sudden you get a phone call and it's like, hey, they wanted to close like tomorrow. So we're not going to, we agreed. We took $300 off the asking price. And so we don't need that door. And you're like, what? Like, this ain't cool, dude. I wasted a bunch of time and energy, and what's going on here? How'd this even happen? Do you warranty your labor for a year? That's not a bad. So it says yes. I wonder, Evan, were you able to get stickers made yet for the doors? This may be one I don't think I'd sticker, honestly, if it was me, but just because obviously if they're moving out, it's gonna be just some random new homeowner, customer, or whatever, and this one's kind of could be a long distance. Because you said this was, I think maybe there was a typo or something on there. Was it? What did you say? It was an hour and a half. Hour and a half. Maybe you already said it, and I just didn't see it up here. Let me check. I'll sign. Rich Evans, silence. Last night. No, I don't think so. I would include the cost to go back 3 times in gas on top of labor. Okay, so yeah, so around an hour and a half. That's a long ways. Yeah, I don't think I'd be putting a sticker on that. I wouldn't be leaving a business card. I'd be like, this is a one and done. Like, hopefully you forget who I am, you know. Maybe not for the next one or something, but for this one, I'm out. I'm out. And Rusty's got, he said, include the cost to go back. Yeah, I always figured one, you know what I mean? Three ain't gonna hurt. That's for sure. You know, and especially through times in gas and then top of your labor. So yeah, I mean, that's not bad. But I always figured my thing was always like a service call. I was like, I know I'm gonna have another service call here. So at time, you know, they've gone up obviously, but you know, 65, then 85, then 120. So I always was like, I gotta add at least another 120. That was more for local, obviously not, you know, long distance like that. Obviously that, yeah, you got to kind of factor that in there too. There's a lot, boy. There's a lot that goes in when you travel. I'm telling you. Oh, that's really good. I see what you got, Rusty. That's yeah. Yep. So one to measure, right? That's perfect, right? Oh, let's see. You know, I got one to measure, which I would call a detail. I don't know if anybody else calls them. We always call them details. We got to go out and do a detail. I think we got it from Lowe's. You know what I mean? So we got to go out and do a detail. It's kind of like the dunnage. Like everybody use dunnage. Dunnage. Some people don't know what dunnage is. Dunnage is garbage, right? That you use between the door to sandwich it. Junk piece of door, dunnage. I remember a guy told me, he goes, that's not a word. And I said, that's a word. I said, listen to a truck driver. I said, that's what they call it. They call it dunnage. And so we always call it a detail. You know, got to go out and do a detail. Then you got the install, and then you got, you know, warranty call, a work order. That's how Lowe's always did it. We sent you a work order. You know, great. What is this about? But yeah, that makes perfect sense. Boy, when you think about it that way, oh man, I know I'm the goofy one, but man, when you think about it that way, I'm like, you make 3 trips? 3 trips? What are you? Are you a moron? You know, like but I mean, that's it. That's just how that's how it is, man. That's how it is. So, I mean, you got what? You got 1, you got 2, so 3. I mean, so how much time? You got what is it? 3? I mean, you got like a lot of time just in driving. 4. That's a lot of time. It's a half a day. And that's if, right, you don't go there and then forget something. Oh, I had it happen a couple times. We didn't carry springs on the trucks, right? We were just kind of one and done. We were driving the old Ford Rangers. Go Ford Rangers. And dude, I remember one time I forgot the torsion spring. I didn't load it. Oh my gosh. And I think I had it another time. One time I had it, I didn't load it. I mean, I'm just digging through the truck, right? The whole truck's just spread out in the driveway of this customer, man. I got I'm like looking behind the scene. I'm like, there's no freaking way. There's no freaking way I don't have the spring. And I didn't have the spring. And then another time I was in a rush. So I loaded up and the vendor didn't send us a spring, which was still my fault. And so the spring wasn't like sitting with the group of stuff, right? So you just assume, right? I just had the one, right? The video that we were 2 Mile famous, right? I grabbed the wrong track. Totally my fault. And I mean, things like that. I mean, I've had it before. WD was really good about not sending you the top fixtures, the top flags. And I mean, you can redneck it and like try to, you know, put something together. And I mean, I don't think I've done the flags so much. I've done the horizontal piece. They've missed out those a lot. But if you don't have the upper flags, like, how do you engineer this, you know, and then make it look decent and not have a customer call you out and go, what is this? Or their Uncle Bobby come over. There's just a lot of stuff. So that's when you go through and better do a fine tooth comb detail. I mean, I even count the rollers because I've had them short me a roller, in a bag, like somebody screwed up or they put extra or it was miss whatever. And, you got handles and side locks and you got weather seal. I've made sure in jobs like that, I've always brung extra weather seal. Charge for plus wear and tear on the Blazer. The wear and tear, man. The hidden tax. I was just watching a guy talk. He was hitting pretty hard about tariffs, how that's a tax on the consumer, And I don't know why. I don't see nothing out there. I really don't. I don't ever see nothing. But I've always thought how like the like the wear and tear. That's when I always started hearing, it wasn't a very common word, right? So many years ago about the hidden tax and hidden this and hidden fees and everything, right? Well, hidden fees might have always been there, those darn bankers. But when I think about the vehicles, man, that is that is such a perfect, great example of hidden tax I have ever, because I tell you what, when it's late at night and you're tired, your knuckles are all busted up and you're down and out and or the weekend and you're like, man, I just want to go inside. I want to relax. And now I got to run to the store. I got to borrow a vehicle. I got to, that's when you start realizing, man, this kind of sucks. Like putting brakes on and, all this other stuff. Now, the problem is like for me, right, it was when I was kind of starting out, it was money, right? It was money, it saved money. The other problem was, well, I can't have this vehicle down. I only have this one service vehicle. And so, to take it in somewhere, that didn't fly. Because, how it is. They're going to make you wait a day or two. And then they're going to call, well, we found something else or it's this or that. And, and it's like, dude, like I got to have this thing. This is my bread and butter. Ooh, you've seen two of those new Chevy electric vans over the weekend. I have not seen the electric ones. I think Rivian or whatever is the one that makes the ones for Amazon, right? That's the only ones I ever see that are electric. And those things are creepy enough. I remember the one day I was working on a rental, man, just bent over in my own little world, right? And I like turned around and there's like this blonde hair girl in one of those vans pulling up and she's like walking. I mean, it just started me. I was like, what the, it's like, what are you doing? And she, I was like, that car is way too quiet. Like you should not be able to drive that. That thing needs to make some noise. It scared the crap out of me. Missing tools. I'm trying to think what's else devastating. I forgot weather seal for a job. I've had that happen. So I've also, I think I forgot pretty much everything there is. Maybe not track. I always kind of go through the normal drums. Got to make sure the drums are there. Got to make sure the cables are there. And then if you get a vendor that's nice enough that they send you the wrong cables, I can't say I maybe had this happen once or twice. But if they send you the wrong cables and then you got to make cables on the fly or cut them down, whoopsies, if you don't have the tools, done that before. I'm trying to think about some other common bottom brackets. I've had bottom brackets missing hinges. Yep. Had a few hinges missing, right? Number 1s or 2s or 3s. Forgot the strut. Struts are very easy, or bracing. I don't know what, I forget what's yours called, Evan. It's not a strut. It's called something else. I think it's a strap. Forget the strap. Operator bracket. That's kind of an add-on. So operator bracket, side lock, rope, foot peg, handle, outside hardware. Oh man, the outside hardware, it's gotten me so many times. Forgot the outside hardware. They didn't pack it. Window inserts. Oh, that's a mofo. Window inserts. Had that so many times. One vendor puts them in, the other vendor doesn't, the other vendor gives them to you loose, the other vendor didn't give you enough. I've been short one time, you know, you get ripped open the little plastic bag, you go to start inserting, you're like, as you like your mind's working, you're like, where's the next one? It was not in the package. They sent another package. No, there ain't no package. Thermo? Is that what it's called? It's called a thermo bow. Wow, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. That's so cool. Thermo bow strap. What's the Rusty? Yeah, I think it jumped over him. 2 of those Chevy electric van. That's the reason we drive 2 trucks to install commercial service call. So we have more parts available without running back to shop. Yep. I can add to, you know, a little bit of that. I think that's part of the reason too. This is why I always just feel this way, you know, that if you're going to do commercial, it's kind of like, you know, you almost need 2 trucks. You almost need 2 guys, right? Because you need help. I know that's not what Rusty's really indicating on there, but that's just my opinion. And if a truck goes down because you're doing service, commercial is very, they want it now. So those are some things. And parts, yeah, that's not bad. I look at it as, you know, sometimes that is true. Other guys have other parts on the trucks, you know, so that helps out. So hopefully you don't have to. We call it like a 2 truck plan. You're going to take a 2 truck plan. You're going to take a 3 truck plan. You're going to take a 1 truck plan. It just depends on the situation, but it's always hurts. It hurts when you got to go farther away and you got to send 2 trucks. That's more liability. It's more wear and tear on the vehicles. It's more chances of getting into a car accident. It adds up. They need to make them sound like, yeah, there you go, the Jetsons cars. Thermo bow strap. Kevin, can you elaborate a little more on that? What do you mean, you know, stock enough hardware 14x14? So like have on your truck, like basically all the hardware for a 14x14? I'm just kind of curious about that. So you got like enough hinges and stuff, probably to cover like commercial, or he's got, yep. I think I always used to carry like 4. I used to carry, gosh, I feel like I carried 6 number 1s. And then I decided I just carried everything heavy, you know, the heavy gauge, the heaviest gauge hinges you can pretty much find. That way I was just covered. If I come across residential, too bad, so sad. They're going to have to deal with a heavy duty hinge. I typically didn't run into a problem. I mean, sometimes you come across like the ideal doors, you know, have the really skinny hinges and stuff that, you know, you kind of got to make your judgment call there. But there's definitely nothing worse, especially if you're doing commercial. You know, you go out to a commercial job and they already busted a hinge and you're like, well, why did it bust? And you know, it's pretty much because the hinge is too thin. So I want to have the heaviest gauge hinge to slap on there. So I always kept 4. I'd keep 4 number 4s, 4 number 3s. I think I went all the way up to, how high do they go? I think it's like, did I carry 6 and 7s, or was it like up in 12s? I can't remember. I have to look at the shop. The shop's got the variety. So, you know, and then I'd always, you know, I always keep long stems. Long stems are good. I did 3-inch and 2-inch. I always figured, hey, I can always cut the stem. It never bothered me to cut the stem. But when you get in a situation where you need a long stem, either you're trying to fight a door back down, you know, a long stem can really save the day, you know. And then I always carried some nylon rollers, some good nylon rollers, because residential, you know, if you come across somebody's got the old silent glides or whatever, and they're junk, you can throw a nice set of rollers on there, but you got to be disciplined. I don't know what the best way is, honestly. We normally kind of keep the garbage. That's how I always did it. So I know a lot of the guys like to do it in the morning. I particularly don't like doing stuff in the morning because I'd rather do it at night and just stay a little later. Because my mind's fresh when I was at the job and I'm already sweaty and I'm already just like really ticked off and been through the pain. And so my mind's like really thinking about like, oh yeah, you remember how you changed that roller? Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, remember how you didn't have that certain can of lube? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting some. Get some now. Do it. So I go where in the morning, I'm just like, what's up, guys? It's a beautiful day out, and it's like, oh, what happened yesterday? I knew it was uncomfortable, but I don't remember how bad, and it doesn't hit me where at nighttime, I'd rather just get through it. And then in the morning, drink whatever and, start your day off, load your truck up and away you go. Ooh, it's got a greed. And then only stock nylon should maybe get a couple long stems. I just like the long stems really for like, even if you get nylon long stems, I like them for I just like them for the resis on those bottom brackets that don't have the fixtures with the sleeve. Like I was talking about in that one residential. Because there's nothing worse than that stinking bottom roller popping out and jamming up your door and throwing the cables, and you got to drive all the way back for that. That is a miserable, like, you're just like, got to figure double hinges and long stem rollers. Maybe that's why I did. It seemed like when I carried four number fours and four number threes, 4 was just a great number, probably because of the double, like what Rich B's saying. And then also what normally would happen, it happened. I know. But sometimes I'd take some, right? And I'd forgot to restock. And so I'd go to like another residential and I'd be like, ooh, and I'm like, I only got, so what I would do, you guys can do this too. Maybe this will help you. I actually zip tied. I put all my number threes together, and I'd have to take a couple different zip ties. You can buy bigger zip ties, but they're kind of pricey. You know what I mean? And I would literally take a zip tie and zip tie them. So in my rack, I could see everything zip tied, like it's vacuum sealed. You know what I mean? Or it's got a what do they call that? Seal? They got a seal on the back of semis, a seal wrap or something. I forget what they call that. I don't know, but they put a zip tie on there, so hopefully nobody's been tampering the food or taking stuff. But I put a zip tie all the way through my hinges to be that methodical, just like with my garage door springs, right? I ran into too many times garage door springs. I had left hand, I had right hand, and then something got screwed up, and they were just a big ball of mess. So I ended up taking saran wrap. I don't know if it's saran wrap, but wrapping tape, whatever you call it. You can buy it. I bought it at U-Haul. I just buy the whatever it is, 4-6 inch wide stuff, and I'd wrap my hinges. Or I'm not my hinges, but I'd wrap my springs. And I actually would write on the plastic too what size they were, so they're easier to identify, because Service Spring didn't have really good labeling at the time. And then sometimes your springs are rotated, so you can't see them anyways. But that way I always knew their package. And if I seen a package was ripped, I'm like, whoa, something needs to get restocked. I'd go through my stuff, restock my stuff. Didn't have a really good way to keep rollers organized. I just kind of counted them. Like the 14 by 14 is a good example. Count how many rollers you need and then have that. And, I didn't have really a good system. I do like sometimes when you get them from like Service Spring, they give you pretty hefty bags. So I try to keep those bags and then try to keep them wrapped up and stuff so they don't get dust and dirt. Sometimes they don't get used for a long time and they get kind of crummy. Extra bearing plays because someone click badly when you install. Honey Fix It, he says bad bearing, swap plates and return to Clopay. So what I would add to that, if I'm understanding it correctly, it would be you got to get that. Is it the bearing blaster or whatever? That thing is. I've come across so many different bearing plates over the years, and we used to carry so many at the shop. But now that if you can just blow the bearing out and put a new bearing in, I don't think you got one of those yet. Do you, Rusty? Dude, I'm telling you. What are they? 60, 120 bucks? Buy one. Buy one. I'd buy it before I'd buy the Surewinder. Love that thing. Part of my trunk. I just keep all my extra in the spare. So what do you do? Do you what? No way. No way. Do you like what do you like? Do you have your spare tire just like is it gone? It's like out of there. The bearing buster, that is. Oh yeah. See, Mr. Tony. Tony, I've been asking. What's the economy been like for you over there? What's your economy? You guys slammed, kind of slow, busy, steady. What's it looking like in your neck of the woods? I keep asking, but you keep running off on me. What's it got? Spare. It says zip tie both ends of extension spring pairs. They stay together. Extension, but I don't carry any extension springs, but that's not a bad idea. That's a good idea. You could wrap them too, right? You could still just saran wrap them together. Ooh, a box of 36 zip ties from my HVAC days. Oh yeah, I bought a few. I don't know if they're that big, but they're pretty good monsters. Man, they come in handy once in a while. I used one of them or a couple we were using on Mr. Caleb. He showed up one day and he goes, I forgot my belt. And I'm like, oh, he's like, you got a zip tie? I'm like, I got some big zip ties. I think we ended up giving him a rope though. He said the rope was better or something. I can't remember. Because I said, where we're going, I said, you might want the rope so you can take it off. I said, because I don't know if I got enough zip ties for that. Bearing buster. Makes me almost want to go get the bearing buster and just hold it. I love that thing. For a year, and it's worth it. Was over. Okay, so yeah, I had for a year it was worth it. So I'm assuming, yeah, it's a little pricey, but man, it's just one of those tools that, man, it just gets you out of a jam. So many jams, and it works so nice. Comes and goes, feast or famine. We were slow today. We've been pretty steady. That's good. I didn't watch anything today. I don't even know how Bitcoin's doing. I don't know how the stock market's doing. I haven't watched gold. I've been slacking. Been just kind of staying out of that turmoil of stuff out there. I fix a lot of extension springs. I keep every color, a lot of 3 and 4 sheaves. The good old extension springs. Yeah, we don't carry any extension springs on the truck. We really don't even come across that many extension springs anymore. Once in a while, we still do, but they're pretty far and few nowadays. Installs. That's what Kevin. We are booked for out on installs. Is it mostly, Kevin, is like commercial, residential, all of it, 50-50? One thing I love. Ooh, let me know. I see Tony's got something there. He says, I've only come across extension springs 3 times in business. If I ever keep them in stock, especially since it seems they were reacted to 7-foot replacements. It seems. Yeah, they're kind of a case by case for us. We don't really, it's just not a high demand. Like I said, they're, we're starting to loosen up a little bit, like we will to some people because they get kind of grumpy. But I don't know. Still not a fan of them. Uncle Dave. And we're going with Clope. All right. Papa Tony's got, I'm going to live it live tomorrow. One thing I love. I got your work. You have to all right. Perfect. Let me know too, Tony. Throw the Batman signal out there. So we're doing the Clope. I think you can be open, you know. Don't be afraid. You know, I don't think there's a lot of benefits unless you're doing so big one day that you get the you're getting the rebates, you know, back on the, you know, and it's nice having different vendors because, you know, if you come across, you know, somebody's got Clope or you got somebody that's got Wayne Dalton or you got somebody that's got Amar, it's nice to have accounts with them. It's not like the one all be all, you know what I mean? But it's nice. It's nice to be able to have some connections. I know, or we really don't have a Haas, so we have to use another door company, and you know they're fine, they're nice and everything. I'm sure they're making a few bucks, but typically we have to go. You know, we got to go there and go pick it up, things like that. So it's not the end of the world. There's just there's so many different ways. I think it's becoming so. I was just listening to a guy, and I think he just said within the last year, there's been 130 new companies, the same as him, that have just started up. They had got their business license, and I was like, holy moly. And I was kind of thinking about with the garage doors and stuff too. And I was thinking, you know, I was like, there's probably been, I don't know how many. There's been quite a few around our neck of the woods even too. There are few, far most in the garages in Chicago. So Rustier, that's Rich B. Da-da-da. If you don't have them on the truck, it's another trip back. That is true. We don't even have them. We just don't even have them at the shop. You know what I mean? So, and most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the secretaries, those are something that for some reason they pick up on like hawks. They I don't know what it is. Like they're like, so is a string, you know, above the door? Well, no. It's along the track. It's long. What do you mean it's long? Like it's next to my man door. It's where the garage door goes up. You know, like they always like, that's always like, those notes for some reason don't get missed. Those are always in there as like extension springs. And I don't really know the riddle. I don't have a really good riddle for extension springs. Like I got kind of the secret sauce, what to carry for our generic area for torsion springs, but extension springs, I have no clue what to even generically carry. So it's typically, I think most time they just order them. They just order them for the customer. I don't even know if the box stores are a really good savior on those. Because, I mean, you know how it is, like they can always normally get kind of close, but they're not close maybe enough. A little more commercial. Residential is mainly new construction. Commercial is tear outs. Oh man, the tear outs. What's Evan got here? It says, do y'all keep doors in inventory for extended periods of time or only when customer has given money down? It depends. You know, I'm definitely entertaining the idea about trying to keep some more doors and even, you know, it's hard because we've gotten burned so many times with a smaller building where it's like you start doing that, you start stockpiling them, and then all of a sudden, bam. I mean, it's hard to look back with what was the last video I just did when we were loading up the U-Haul there, the whatever you got, think outside the box video. I just that last one I posted basically. I'm looking at the shop. I'm like, holy crap, the shop is full. You know what I mean? And it gets to be a real nightmare around there when you slam it full of stuff. So, but it's nice. I mean, that's why I was always going to keep like certain sections, like do insulated sandwich, and you just cut them down like a certain many of sections, and you just cut them down, and the customer has to pay for it. Because we get commercial every once in a while. They'll slam into a door, and it's like, we need this door running right now, and it's like, well, I mean, we can make something happen, if we got the sections and some hinges and stuff, but most time it's just you kind of order them as you need them. If you have vendors, like typically around by the shop, I mean, we could, that's one way you can kind of play it. I'll tell you a little insider secret. So if you're, like I said, customers are very just, you just got to lead them down a path in a sense, right? But what you can tell them is if you got certain vendors, if you find out certain vendors have certain stuff in stock, like I don't really hear many people, I know, like, I think Rusty's got like Clopay and stuff like that, but we're very lucky. I think we have 3 or 4 vendors between like Amar, Midland, Overhead. Who else? There's another one in there I'm forgetting. I think Rainer, I don't remember. But anyways, the one guys, right, we can have, it's just, it comes at a cost, right? So you can tell them, say, I can check my warehouse and see if we have that. I've done that with customers before. I'd say, hey, I'm not at the shop, but I said, let me check. I said, let me check my warehouse. I said, we'll see if we got something in stock. I'll call a vendor. Hey, we got it. What I mean? How much is the price? They tell me a price. Okay. I tack on another 100, 200, 300, whatever you want. Because now you got to drive out there, you got time and all that crap to go out there and get the thing. And you can tell the customer, say, hey, I do have one. It's this price, if you need it right away. Otherwise, most time, depending on the situation, you just have to, everything is case by case, situation by situation. I still is to this day, people just, it's almost like they, well, how are you going to do it? What are you going to do? I have no clue. Every day I wake up, I go, I have no clue. I just know you got to keep moving. You got to work late. You got to do the weekends. You got to hustle. You got to burn the midnight oil. You know what I mean? You just got to, you got to figure it out. People out there, a lot of people have problems, and you got to come up with a solution. Get my doors when I need it. No inventory. Yep. Or like Papa Tony. I just seen Tony's name here, so that's why Papa Tony always said, he goes, I told them they need to restock my warehouse, which is Menards or whoever. It could be Home Depot, Lowe's. You know what I mean? They got stuff in stock too. So you might be able to use them. That's why, like, there's always like some certain little things, right? Like torsion tubes. Torsion tubes are one of them. I can't invent torsion tubes. I just can't. Solid shaft. That was always something I always carried. 16-foot solid shaft keyed. That is the needs to be fully keyed. 16-foot solid shaft, 1-inch shaft, because we have commercial. They'll spring a wind up, a cable will go over the shaft, and it'll turn it into a V. And it's, hey, we need to get this door running, and it's like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna get? So 16-foot. I always carried 16-foot solid shaft key. If you got some chunks, that's fine too. 9-foot, 10-foot, in case it's got a split collar, whatever. But sometimes that's just the way it is. The customer's paying for it, man. They get in those jobs. They don't care. They don't care what the price, just fix it. And it's like, all right, well, we're going to burn up a 16-footer. So you're going to replace this 16-footer at whatever it costs us. Well, obviously with markup too, but it just is what it is. So, but like struts, those are another thing. Like I can't invent struts. But like I can typically find like hinges, I can find rollers if I'm digging for stuff, but there's just certain things I can't recreate. So, but anyways, what I was getting at is if you buy a door, let's say at Home Depot or Lowe's, they come with extension springs. A lot of them did. I don't know if they still do. They did it because like back then it was $30, measly $30 savings. I was like, nope, we're not doing it for $30. The customer needs to do torsion spring. But what I'm getting at is you can buy the door. You can throw the extension springs away if you don't want to deal with it, or you can deal with it. And then you can at least convert it if you have some springs, but then it's added cost. So you got to, you know what I mean? That's why you got to weigh it all out. A lot of variables. I still haven't got an email from anybody that goes, "You're right, Dave. There's a lot of variables." 16 by 7 and by 2, 16 by or 18, the 18 that way. 3 different options: 16 by 7, 6, 6, or 6, 9, and 6, 6. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Good idea. We keep 16 by white raised panel in stock. Yep, that's kind of like what we got. You know, I don't know if Kevin keeps insulated, and if that's not insulated, we do like non-insulated. Normally I just like to do non-insulated and steel back. You know, my flavor would be obviously probably a non-insulated 9x7, insulated steel back 9x7, and then 16 by 7 and, you know, steel and non-insulated. That'd be about my flavor, but it never fails when you got those sitting there. Then you get that customer that needs a 9x7, or I'm sorry, not 9x7, a 10x7. And you're like, mother, got it. They don't need a 9x7. No, they need a 10x7. Of course they do. Clope dealer, you can pick up anything they have in stock at the Pister. It says DC only, door in stock. Sure, or they didn't pay, says Misfit Toys. So it's nice when you got vendors. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's just got the lumberyard. I don't think he's got any other ones that are nice and convenient. Someone drives through one. You the next day install, waiting for one to come in instead of waiting for one to come in. Yeah, I mean, it's just it all depends. You know, it's nice if you got some vendors that'll have stuff. You know, I've done it. Heck, I've added like $300 on top of the job. I'm like, we can do it, you know, because I mean, it just seems like it never fails. Never fails. You just get so many people out there that just never. I had the same thing, almost kind of like with Evan, right? This customer, you know, wants to sell the end of July or whatever, right? This one was Memorial Weekend. You know, well, we're thinking about, you know, hoping to get the store, you know, because we're thinking about selling, you know, we're going to have the house listed by Memorial Weekend. And it's like, oh, but luckily Rich B's vendor came through and I was like, hi, I was like, you guys got brown? They're like, they kind of laughed at me. They're like, yeah, that's like in stock. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, shoot. Can we get some brown? What's this saying? If it's white, I can have the same day. Clope keeps a lot of doors in stock. That's nice. That's always nice, man. That's a nice thing to have. That is for sure. If I call by 8, no problem next day. Nice. He's got the door. What does this say? It says, are they regional? Do they have any dealers? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know about that. Not sure. Chicago. Yeah, they're really nice, man. They're really, really nice. Really nice. So nice to have certain vendors that'll take care of you like that. Like I said, you just, you know, you gotta keep always feeling, you know. And sometimes they're kind of hidden. Luckily, our one vendor, you know, the only reason I ever got a hold or I ever figured them out was because they used to send me fax. They'd send me a fax of like LiftMaster price sheets. And we were onesie twosie it. I don't know who we were using. I think we were getting through everything through WD at one time. And I finally was like, man, you know, man, these prices are getting a little bit, you know, up there. And I was like, I can save, like, if I go through this other company that's sending me these fax, I was like, I can save $60 per opener. So I'm like, if I buy like, you know, 3 or 5 or something like that, that's a pretty good savings. That's a little chunk of change. So then I used to do that, but then I got into a habit where we were always going to the vendor. And then it was like, when I never could understand, I'm like, oh, it's only 45 minutes, you know, it's 45 minutes there. And it's like, but I'd be gone for, you know, 3 to 4 hours. And I was like, what the heck's going on? Well, by the time you deal with, a traffic jam, construction, you were dealing with, you go there, you got to talk to you got to talk to the secretary, you got to talk to the owner, you got to say hi to everybody, you got to talk to your, maybe your competition's there, this whole string of and I was like, oh my gosh, like I just don't have time for this anymore. I need everything to be delivered. Evans, yeah. As I said, I'll probably stick with getting endorsed through the lumberyard till I buy out mom and pop shop, since they own the local door distribution. Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say. Therefore, and call them and give them a ring. Yeah, I don't know on that, Evan. I mean, it's hard to say, it's like difficult to put numbers. I've noticed, at least from what I can kind of tell, it's hard to put numbers on, and I don't know why this is. I'm not saying this is, I'm definitely, how do I say it? I'm not an expert in this field at all, but I've noticed a trend where it's hard for service or anything like that. You know what I mean? And then normally the number, whatever somebody thinks, they always want darn near double what really is probably worth, you know what I mean? For business stuff, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. About buying and stuff like that. Sometimes you just, how do you look at it? Like with the door stuff, we're just, all we are is we're kind of laborers, regardless, we're service people. We solve problems and we get a little bit of, money on the top. There's no, how do you say it? There's kind of like no residual income from it. It's more of a just active, you know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. But you just never know. You got to always keep your eyes open. I was going to buy out a long time ago. I was going to buy out another door company. And I'm not saying, but it was just like when you learned, but the thing was, I guess what you got to be looking is like, they did have a building and stuff like that. Right. So that is a plus, because that's what you're realistically probably buying, because the customers and all that can just, they can come and just go, you know what I mean? They are just, at least I know in like ours, like I said, they are not, they will go to the cheapest oil change. They will go to the cheapest gas station. They will, there's plenty of people shopping at Walmart. Same thing. Copay, wondering because I never heard of them. Call it payback. Oh, for my ego. What does it say here? Big plans considering that major operation to buy out a business. Walk before you run. Yes. There's a lot that goes, you just learn over the years, you really do. There's so much to be learned. I mean, I'm always learning, you know what I mean? And I'm so thankful for having I love having an open mind. You know what I mean? Doing it. I said I wasn't doing it tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, I get it. You know what I mean? But more than likely, it's going to be probably, my guess is more, beneficial that you'll just start your own place and you just start slowly edging in. Like I said, as a young man, I've watched quite a few different things, and I am definitely a big believer in, I think I could have ran faster if I wouldn't have had things that would have held me down. You know what I mean? Like when, cause like when I was working a job and I was doing this other stuff and I was, I'm doing the business and all that. I mean, I think I was back in like we were close to the Clinton era, you know what I mean? And you could just get a loan for everything. And money was just flying. And, I look at a lot of these things and I think of how much stuff like holds you back that you don't think about. Like, it's kind of like every time I get another automobile in my life, right? I go, I was thinking about it today. I was thinking, I was like, yeah, maybe I do have a little bit older vehicle. I was like, but you know, that other guy buying that brand new vehicle, he still gets flat tires too. And some of the newer vehicles, you know, aren't running any better. They have more problems and whatever, you know, and I just thought, but I thought, no matter what, when you bring something in, and this is how I always feel, when you bring something in, it could be a chainsaw, it could be a Sure-Winder, it could be whatever, right? That thing needs attention. It needs grease. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be stored. It needs to be handled. It needs tuning and maintenance. And it's like, and so I just still think, I go, man, if I've talked to Caleb and stuff, and I was like, dude, like my biggest thing is room. As long as you have a shelter, as long as you have a roof and shelter, you can, as a man, like I said, as a man, you really don't need much. And it bugs me. It irritates the hell out of me that how many places, at least in our surrounding area, I don't know about yours, but you can't put a damn garage up. Oh, it makes me so mad that you can't put a garage up, just a solo garage to live in, and maybe eventually start building your future house. Because all I need is a garage. I just need a big garage. I can park a camper in a garage. I can stay in the garage if it's insulated or whatever. Like, I can do a lot with a garage. I can work on my car. I can work on my service vehicle. I can store equipment. I can store supplies. But it irritates me that they won't let you do that, because it's like they can't tax you on it. You know what I mean? You got to have a homestead, then you can have a garage. And I've always thought, I was like, I'm just going to buy that property that's got just a little shit shack on it, and I'm going to have a monster garage in that little house. Yeah, we stay in the house. Yeah, we stay in there, but not really. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But anyways, like, I think about those man condos. I don't know what's in your guys' neck of the woods, but we have a lot of the man condos is what they're calling them, I guess, because a lot of people are starting to live in the condos or apartments, but they want somewhere to store their boat, or they want somewhere to hang out with the guys, or somewhere to park their trucks. And so we're seeing a lot of man condos pop up. And I'm like, dude, if those things had an address and you can use an address, like, I would be the silent night. I'd be stuffed in one of those puppies, and I'd be out making baby money. Evan, you have time on your side. Oh, yes. So true. So true. You do have time on your side. That's the best thing. But you got to be smart about it. And so I keep telling, like, I tell Mr. Caleb and stuff, I was like, everything you bring into your life, it's got work. And that's why, but you got to be, it's, I think it's something, I don't know what it is. I asked my mom about it even. I said, I don't even know why I wanted to move out. And she goes, she says, you started getting interested in girls. And I was like, well, that did me a lot of good. That got me a divorce. And, and like, so I guess what it is this is for a lot of, young men out there, everything, right? It's just take your time, be smart, use your gut, take your time. Like I said, it seems like I hear it because I got some family members now, and it's like, well, my buddy's getting married, and oh, well, he just got engaged. And it's like, and I'm like, it's like a fine bottle of wine, dude. I'm like, let them kind of go. I was like, long as they haven't gotten pregnant or something like that. I said, they're going to see the real person. I said, well, it's like when you're young. I don't know. Anybody got an age? I feel like it's got to be like, I don't even think you should get married until you're over 25. 25 was my turning point. That was my turning point. I remember that was when I would really was like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised my parents didn't kill me. Like the aha, But if you could do a man condo or something, and then you're just, if you, that's if you, it's in the budget and everything. I just look at it and I go, you don't have to take care of, you don't have to do the plowing. You don't have to take care of the grass. You just focus on building a business, and just, who was that one guy I was listening to? Was it Ty? And they were saying, you're going to, you could go through how many businesses and they fail. And it's like, I agree. I'd rather go through the businesses and fail quicker and learn than anything else, because everything else was like anchors on me. You know what I mean? Like when I got the Wave Runner, well, now I got to store the Wave Runner. Well, now I got to polish the Wave Runner. Well, now I got to put fuel and gas. And I got to drive it down to the beach. Now, is it fun? Absolutely. But there were so many things I wasn't taught that I wish I would have looked at now and said, I would have rather just done that stuff, built the business or whatever, or built the rentals and stuff sooner, because then I could have retired even earlier. Quality high. Time. What's up, Freeze? What did I miss here? If you don't do quality work, then you don't want to buy the reputation. It's true. Depending on what for the company or whoever, you know what I mean? That's like I said, that's a very always hard balance. You know what I mean? It normally doesn't work. Now, see, like in my mind, I look at, so like I would never be probably that amped to buy another door company. It's just, they're just not in the same ballpark or whatever. It's not the same algorithm, right? But I think about the one that sells, right? I think about the company that sells the products, and I go, that is a hell of a company. Now I know that company is gonna be way more than I could ever afford, because so much product and the building and the systems, and the thing is everybody's coming to it, right? So there's gonna be a little bit of change of faces, right? But everybody still comes to that, kind of like how do you explain it? Why am I thinking of like ants? I'm thinking of ants. I don't know how to explain it. There's something different, right? Like you go to the store, right? Like we've all had bad service. It seems like you can get bad service at, automobiles and that, right? But when you go to it seems like the store, it's like a glob of people, right? You might see one person, they're kind of, but the cashier was nice and that, it's just always kind of evolving, changing, but you still go back to the same store to get your food typically, your groceries. Eric want an excess master. I pulled out yesterday. Ooh, I would. He says, but you're in Canada. Yes. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Oh, that's so true, man. That's something I learned from some of the rich guys I used to do work for. And they were like bringing like beach sand or something down to their mega house, whatever. And he's like, one guy's like, he's going to get in trouble, but he just go with it. You know what I mean? And there is some truth. Camry will make it. Camry's a great car. Those things are built to last. What's there, guys? Don't I couldn't see it with this thing in the way. I think they will let me in with the straight pipe. Oh no straight pipe. Must be quiet. Oh, I gotta scroll down. That's the problem. Barndominium. Yep, barndominium. I still have not had one in my possession. I'm planning on it in the future, but I definitely want to, at least the way I see the world kind of going, typically, a lot of the, it could be, it's the kids and the wives and all that kind of stuff, right? Like they just they're not, nobody's out really doing so much with the farm and that's just not there anymore. It's that. And, for me, as always being basically, the sole provider, it's just so much like, how many times, I mean, you guys know how it is, man. If you're up in the weather, man, cleaning out your service vehicle or dealing with the bad, having a frozen vehicle, You know, there's just times the weather is just not cooperating. The truck is just getting full of ice. And you're like, if I just had somewhere to pull this thing in, you know, but I can't because I got this ladder rack. So I need at least a 10-foot tall door, you know, or you're hauling a scissor lift, right? I've been there late nights. Oh, late nights pulling the scissor lift, you know, and the scissor lift's all slopped up. It needs to get pulled in. I got a tire on the trailer that's starting to go flat. You know how many times I would have just gave a finger for just to be able to, you know, pull in to somewhere and get right out of the shelter. It's just horrible weather, you know, and you've already been beaten down from the day from life and society and the jobs and, you know, a flat tire and, you know, the cop that pulled you over. And you're just like, man, what I would do just to pull into that garage, even if it's only 45 degrees and I can cook it up to 60 or whatever, just to get me out of the elements. And, or, you know, eventually if you had a Barney Mini or whatever, right, you got somewhere to put a lift in, maybe to work on your own vehicle to save some money. You know how many times I've been, you know, under the truck and dripping salt water in your eyes, burning. You know, it's just not fun, where it's like, dude, I always kind of think of it as like, kind of like what I thought Grant Cardone always said. He says, if I forgot exactly, so don't quote me on it, but he said something to the extent of, he goes, if my dreams die, my family dies, you know? And I thought, I can kind of relate to that. It's not that, hey, it's not to be rude. And it's just, but look, I'm the innovator. I'm the dreamer, you know, and you guys know, men know, you know what I mean? We're the ones out there. We're the ones out that are hunting. We're out there like the lone wolves. I mean, it's tough, man. The world is just, and it's, everybody's trying to get in your pocket. You got the tax man, you got everything, right? You got the gas, you got all these things. And, you know, so if you could just have that shelter and you can keep the rest of it off, you don't care about the roof. The roof starts leaking, you call the whoever. Hey man, roof's leaking, come fix it. I got to go do work, you know, things of that nature. Hey, I'm not cutting the grass. I'm going to go sit at the beach. You know, it's kind of like, I think my oldest grandpa that's still around, you know, he always says, go out and experience, go out and enjoy life, you know? And I really think there's a lot of truth to that, you know, go to the beach, there's so many things that are free that we don't do, you know, that we get, you know, restrained by, you know, maybe our certain things on our own property, let's just say, or things of that nature. There you go. Think with the upper head. Oh man, that is so true. I still keep Evans garage door. He says this mainly be building, assuming the goal is to run them out. Oh, to run them out. Hey, you never know. You know, you might work with them one day. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but like, I mean, I was just watching a little clip. I was going to put it like maybe on a video, you know, it shows a guy, I think it's Leo DiCaprio or whatever. He's like arguing, you know, and he's just flail. And then they show the other guy, I forget who the other actor is, and he's just quiet. And, you know, I ain't going to deny it. You know, I used to think the same thing, but then I realized it's just like with money, right? That's like trying to say, I'm going to take, you know, I'm going to take all the money in my country. That's not realistic. And it's not good. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to have, you know, I forget who said it, but I remember them saying it's good to have competition. And it's fair to the customer. I mean, I know I like having competition, you know, when I'm getting carpet done or I'm getting a furnace or I'm getting a roof or, you know, all these things. Like, I mean, I like having competition, you know what I mean? Cause, you know, when you think about the contractors, how things really work, you know, it's like with us, right? Too. I mean, we start getting slammed, the residential will fall off, right? We tell them, sorry, call this customer, call this vendor, blah, blah, blah. And prices go like this, right? But then when things are like, things are kind of running, they start slowly stacking down to find where the level is again that it needs to be to a certain degree, right? Where you still got to, you know, got to cover your overhead and all that kind of stuff. But you know, there's a lot of you know, good to it, you know what I mean? And you know, there's typically, I think it's like you just don't even have enough time in your life to worry about some of that stuff. You know what I mean? I think that's why I like to give you an example, right? Sometimes with the garage doors, right? These are just my weird conspiracy theories. So don't even, you know, this is just pretend we're dreaming and we got to get slapped and get waken up. In the garage door, industry and stuff, right? I always talk about a lot of variables, and I talk a lot about, there's just so many unforeseen things and stuff. And there's so many times like I can remember, right, that I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but it's like, I've had where I get this weird, like, I feel like the customer wasted my time. And I know it's part of business, right? I understand, but I don't think that's like, to me, I go, I don't like that part of business. Let's just say, you know what I mean? But there'd be so many things. Like I was literally like, I was thinking about you guys the other day. I was driving around and I was like, I remember that job. Didn't get that job, and I was going to do like a little clip of me, like with jobs behind me, like, oh yeah, didn't get this job. Didn't do this job. This job got outbid. This job didn't go through. This job never got done. Like there's just so many things. Like I was driving past a blueberry field and the blueberry field's way overran. The lady must be gone that ran it at the time. And they wanted a fence. And I remember I walked it out with my business partner. We wheeled it. We didn't have a wheel at the time. I didn't know a wheel existed, and there's nothing there. They never did nothing. So, I kind of was like, like I should have, like, looking at it now, I'd look at it and go, oh, you're looking for, unless it's like a really good customer, I'd be like, well, we charge $80 a foot. So you just kind of figure out how many linear feet you're looking at. And that's kind of what, is that something you're interested in? Well, yeah. That sounds about right. I'd still like you to, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I semi pre-qualified this customer. Okay. Where I would do all this measuring. I remember one time I had a plastic one at a millionaire's house. He's the guy that has a big gas station company. And I remember my wheel. I had a cheap wheel I bought from, I think it was from Menards, and it like broke in half on me. And he wanted the fence because he lived up on a hill. He was overlooking Lake Michigan. He wanted to have the fence lower, but he wanted to keep his dog, and he just got a new dog. But he wanted the fence lower, so when he's on his, which makes sense, when he's on his land, he don't see the fence. And I'm down in the woods and I'm all fighting this thing, my wheel snapped. I remember, snapped right in half. I'm like, oh. I'm like, no, this is a horrible time for you to break. And so I'm like wheeling it, like holding it with my hand and on the ground. And he's like, do you need me to get like a tape measure? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Finally got the rough dimensions. He either never used this or never did it. But there's so many things, that you just kind of look and now you're just like, oh, I always relate it to, I always try to explain to some of the younger, like Caleb and stuff. I always tell him, I say, remember how bad you wanted a bike, a pedally bike? Oh yeah. And I said, but now, you drive a car, right? You don't even think about a pedally bike. What's that? I don't do that. That's silly. That's baby stuff. You know what I mean? That's how life evolves. That's just weird. You know what I mean? I talked to an older guy who was on his deathbed basically. And one time he told me, I said, it's weird how life changes, and he said it always will. And I thought, I've always kept that with me, and he's exactly right. It always will. Your perspective will change, your views will change, what you feel is important, and what and the one thing I can tell you, at least for me, the best thing that's ever going to be, I found out, is don't worry about the world, don't worry about the outside, just worry about what makes you happy. You know what I mean? Because every night you got to deal with it, right? That's always been my thing, right? Like kind of like with the marriage stuff, right? The marriage stuff, like every night, every day, you got to eat the same M&M. Not saying it's bad, right? But just imagine, you got to make, when you do this stuff, you don't realize, because you don't have the years of experience, that you're kind of stuck. Right. I mean, not always. There's ways this, but you just don't, like, give it time. Think about what's important. Make yourself, don't worry about the rest. Don't worry about what people think or what kind of, clothes or vehicles and all that stuff. Because here's the gal darn truth of it. Every day of your rest of your life, every day, you got to pay for it. You got to get up early to pay for it and go to work and pay for all the stuff that you consume. That's the problem. And everybody's a consumer, right? And that's the problem. We're running into. And I'm not saying it's not nice to have nice stuff and all that. And like I said, but it's just, I wish somebody would have told me, I wish somebody would have said, hey man, and I mean, my stepdad was my closest one that actually told me. I always kind of had like, well, I won't say it, but I just kind of, it sunk with me when he said, kind of do what you want. You know what I mean? Do what makes you happy. Then it doesn't really feel like work. And even though you do stuff that still makes you happy, it still feels like work. Cause I remember like the oil change, right? I used to love doing oil changes. And then I hated doing oil changes when I used to work at a place. I did it and I hated changing my own, but it's still like, even like when you do like the garage doors, I don't have the super excitement. I mean, I definitely enjoy like teaching and showing and like with Caleb and stuff like that. I love having somebody that's learning, that wants to learn. That's beautiful to me. You know what I mean? I'm just a grumpy old man. I know what to do. You know what I mean? I know how to fix it. I know how to get myself out of wet paper bag and a dry one. That's key. But, so it's just, but I enjoy teaching the next person how to sharpen the saw. Like instead of just hammering the chainsaw, stop, sharpen the saw. It'll work so much better. You know what I mean? Where I look at so much stuff now, it takes so much time. Stuff takes so much time. It really does to do it right. Before, I mean, I can slip through stuff and sneak this and sneak that and take shortcuts and in and out, but then you get callbacks. So you get burned. I put a 400 by 50 pole barn, built loft I can live in. Exactly. That's the way to go. I think that guy that was doing I think it was a 40 by 80. He was just saying it was cheaper to go steel, which I do know that does happen that way. But I think he was doing a lot of it himself. He just said the wood alone was so much. So I was like, yeah, I'm sure you're getting a certain size. There's just so many options when you get into a bigger building. And not everybody. I've been very lucky. My wife is, she's a rock star. I mean, she used to sleep on an air mattress with me in the back of my old place, right? My very first place in my garage. You know what I mean? Just dedication. You know what I mean? But she does, she's, it's, we could be in a pole barn and she could be in a camper and she'd be happy. Like she's pretty, just give her some air conditioning, some heat and a fridge. And she does like her room and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. They all like that. But when you're the one out there and you got to go out every day and kill something and drag it home, it's tough. It is really tough. And then you start getting trucks and you get trucks that are rusting because of the salt. And then you get broken brake lines and you're trying to keep stuff running. And because there's just been many nights. There's so many nights I've had to work on stuff like late hours. And occasionally I still do, just to get something back up and running so it's ready to go for the next day. And it's like you can just be so exhausted and you can have a helper, and they show up and they're all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and you're like, how'd you sleep last night? Like, sleep? What sleep? Yeah, I laid down for an hour. I've been like all this didn't manifest by itself. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff and equipment and stuff. It's like my brain's registering right now. When we did that one job, we had the big U-Haul truck, and the first morning we go out and we had a blizzard that night, and I felt it, man. I felt, how that front tire catches that slop and it just drug me. I felt the whole truck, and I was just like, here we go. We're going to roll this son of a biscuit, and I'm just like, I was like, this day's not starting off good. And we're already doing a long distance loser. And then it's like you're there doing the work, and your mind, how like when you're working, but you're thinking behind, but then you get people that like to talk to you, and they're like, yeah, what about this? And there's a football game and this and that. And you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know if I should just get a hotel tonight because they're dropping equipment off tomorrow morning. So maybe I should just get a hotel. I didn't bring stuff for a hotel though, so I don't really have clothes. But if I drive, the traffic and the roads are not good. And then I got to come in the morning. I don't know what they're talking about, another storm, There's another mom and pops can still sell truck covers and camping equipment. Oh, they sell camping equipment. What's Eric got? He says, I got my wheels flea market, and I think it still works. I used to use it for pricing yards that I mow. Oh, yeah, those wheels. Like, I'm telling you guys, like the fact that, thanks Eric for bringing that up, because it just made me like realize, dude, I remember. I'm telling you, you guys. I mean, we got it so made nowadays. It's just ridiculous with the whole internet and online and Amazon and stuff. Because I remember, I think I bought a wheel. I think I bought it from Menards, and it was plastic. It was mostly plastic, right? Just cheap. It was cheap. I mean, it was like, I didn't even know where you get this stuff. And then I found one. I think I found it on Craigslist in town. And it was at like an auction place, and it was bright orange. I think I still have it. And it was like DTE or something like that, or like a natural gas company. And I'm like, dude, I didn't even know this existed. Like, cause I'm just kind of getting into it. And so I go to this place. I'm just like super excited. I mean, they could have told me, well, we just say we changed our mind. It's going to be another $20. I would have been like, just, here you go. Like, you wouldn't understand how many problems I've been having with this plastic wheel and the clips not staying clipped, and it's just not being accurate. And I'm just, nothing worse than you're wheeling something out and you're just like, hey, the wheel wasn't clicking the whole time. I didn't even realize it. Oh my gosh. Did I miss, 50 feet or 500 feet? Holy crap. And got to do it again. So I was super excited. Well, then now you got the internet. You can just scroll through your phone while you're laying in bed and order it brand new, and it gets shipped right to your door. I mean, wow. Compared to back then, like I said, the best thing I had was Craigslist, and you had to travel town to town, and it was used, and it started having a little bit of problems. It wouldn't stay real tight. I couldn't keep the arm tight. So it'd be wheeling and be like, go down on me. I'm like, son of a gun, I'm like, oh, and I have to like stop and reposition it. So, but maybe I have this weird sneaky suspicion that I would not doubt that Amazon starts delivering garage doors. I just have a feeling if they deliver, what are they? I think I've actually gotten, what have I gotten from them before? It was big. What was big? I think it was like a full entertainment system. You know what I mean? Like the full, like the furniture part of it. I mean, it came on a box truck, just like the box trucks, garage doors come on. So I don't see why not. That's going to be in their wheelhouse. Do I have any siblings? No, I'm the only child. That's a keeper. Oh yeah. Yeah. She's, like you said, compared to my first one, and it's one of those things like, you go, marriage is such a weird, can be a weird thing. It can be a blessing. It can be a curse, and I remember when I first got I got married, I did, my parents were divorced. So I told myself I will never, ever get divorced. And, I tried like hell, but this girl could spend the money as fast as I could make it. I mean, every week I go to the mailbox, I come back, and there was another credit card opened up. And I was so irritated. And then I would tell her, I say, you can't do this. And she would tell me, she'd go, well, all you got to do is make the minimum payment. And I said, you make the minimum payment. I said, you're going to pay 3 times whatever you just purchased. And so, I didn't want to do it on a hard note. So I ended up, doing it. We were watching a movie one night. I didn't want to be screaming and yelling. I'm not that type, So I ended up, I remember I shut TV off. I said, hey, we need to have a talk. We talked about it. We decided, yes, that does seem the best way of, to separate. And oh man, what a headache. You know what I mean? Talk about just, and then the problem was I was losing another income. So that's another thing, right? You guys are just staying right at the, you can just afford, I can just afford it. I can just afford the house, right? With this other person's income. And then boom, you lose that income. And so that was when I got introduced to renting. So I had a first rental that was next door to that property, but then my place, now that I'm losing an income, I ended up renting my house, and my garage was separate, but my garage was all pretty decked out. Don't worry, I wasn't living hard. So I ended up staying in the garage, but then of course that's when the economy tanked, and I'm like every day just watch TV, the stock market's crashing and everything was going bad. And I swear we went 5 years, at least 5 years with an economy that just, about within that 5 years, we start going out and doing some garage doors, residential. Commercials took a while. Commercial took about 3 years, and about 3 to 4 roughly in there, 3.5 is when we started noticing the commercial started dipping down. They were bringing in their own maintenance people. They were really cracking down. There's 12 maintenance guys. Now there's only 3 maintenance guys. They really trimmed the fat. So they were a lot more slower than the residential. The residential, it just all it took was the media to change, on the news, stock market's not doing so good today. Right. People just, they focus on that stock market and they watch their 401ks. And when they, the housing prices, if house prices go down too, everybody just, oh my gosh, I got no money. I lost the equity in my house. So I was renting, like I said, and got introduced to a person that did a bankruptcy. So that was great. I got the letter. I didn't think nothing of it. Right. And the lady quit paying me, and oh man, it's great times. But like I said, if I wouldn't have got stuck in that thing, right? If I would have just been paying for a building and I've been focusing on the business, and I was trying to do the business. And the problem is that my credit got shot because, when my ex, I was a co-signer. Don't ever be a co-signer. So I was a co-signer on her student loan debt. And I was getting real down to being dirty on it because I was making the house payments. So she was getting good credit for house payments. She was hit and miss on the student loans. Oh man. You want to talk about making a man insane? And yeah. Some duct tape can fix that. You can order tiny homes from Amazon. Ooh, that's right. The problem is, the township, I keep thinking the camper is the way to go. If you find a 3-season, I don't really know who, Aerostream always made pretty good campers. I don't know if they made a 3-season one or whatever. But I always figured a camper, at least if you had property and you put it on there, if somebody harassed you there, at least the worst case, you take the camper off, right? And you just hook it to a vehicle and away you go. But, a lot of these townships all have their certain, you got to have so many square footage, and, it can be this big and it can only be parked for so long. For instance, right, we got the property up north, right? The hunting shack. We had a single wide mobile. Now, before we purchased it, we didn't know that was going to happen. So we would have took better care of this single wide, right? But anywho, it just got to the point. It was leaking. It smelled horrible. It just needed to go. Anyways, get that taken out. Well, now it's not kind of considered like homestead anymore, right? So now they lose. So the taxes go down maybe like $30-$40, not much, right? But now they introduce, because there's another trailer on that property, they introduce, there's a camping permit you got to pay every year, which is $10. Now the problem is I don't really care about the $10. The problem is they're going to start getting you. It's going to be $10 this year, and then next year it's going to be $20. Then it's going to be $30. Now we're going to be at $300. Well, guess what? It's already gone up, and they say because it's permanently sitting. If you don't, unless you move it. But it just seems like they always find some loophole, and it's irritating. So that's why sometimes if you could just, I don't look at it as bad. And everybody's situation is different. I'm not saying, because you can find a duplex or something and you can rent one side and, it's got a pole barn in the back. Holy hallelujah or something, but I just always think how fast I could have went if I would have focused more on stuff, depreciating assets, right? Asset liability, right? What's an asset? An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket, right? Those are the things, right? And then the one thing that I always really got with me was that I thought this was the best advice ever, but what asset's going to pay for something like your liability or something you're going to purchase? So you need to get something that's producing money. That's a great way to think about stuff, I think, right? A rental, right? The rental, maybe you're making $200. Maybe you got 3 of them, you're making $600, $1,200, whatever. But that $1,200, okay, well, I don't have nothing else, or that pays for my rent where I'm staying, and you got some more. Okay, well, that pays for my vehicle, right? That passive, in a sense, semi-passive, is paying that. I'm like, wow, that's a great way to think. Instead of always actively, well, I got to go out and make another dollar. Yeah, you make another dollar, but they're also going to take more money from you. You know what I mean? That's the problem, with, well, not, the business part, but just saying with your paycheck stuff. But it's very complicated where when you lease something, when I leased the one van, it was like, this is great. Like the lady, the secretary, not secretary, but the accountant didn't even mess with me. She was just like, oh, it's a lease. Like, it wasn't like, how much did you pay for it? How much did you buy it for? How much did you sell it for? It's just like, it's an expense. That's what the rich people, it's just an expense. It's gone. It's gone. It's part of doing business. You have to do biography video, Dave, on the affordable dream. Yeah, maybe I should. I just get ramped up because I didn't have anybody telling me this stuff. I really didn't have a dad to go to. I really didn't have a grandpa to go to. I had nobody that did business. And it's not to say there's anything. They did the best they could. They kept a roof over my head, all these kind of things, right? But it's just, there were so many things where I was just like, but what if, I wish somebody would have told me, like, dude, there's no rush. Like, there's no rush. There is no rush. That's society making everything a rush. Society's pushing you to, if you don't get the car, or if you don't get the wife, or you don't get the house, you're a loser. It's so fake. It's so fake because there's everybody's situation. And I'm telling you what, man, there's something different. There's something different, right? When you got to lay in bed, you got to lay in bed with a woman you love, or maybe you're not loving so much, or you got to deal with, like for me, right? I was strapped, man. I'm strapped for money. I'm sitting there and I'm like, do I pay my taxes or do I pay my house insurance? Do I pay my taxes or do I pay my house insurance? I mean, I'm like literally like in tears, man. I'm like, what do I do? Like, I have no money. And I got these bills. I got, it's like they always say, right? Once you go into it, it never stops. And it never did. It never did. They didn't lie, right? Once you get an electric bill, it never stops. Yep. Never stops. Once you get a gas bill, never stops. And so it's like, you got to keep, hustling, and doing stuff and moving and trying to keep this animal fed. And if you can keep that animal small, it's a lot easier to tame and take care of than a bigger animal. But, every day, every night, you got to deal with this thing. It can be a truck payment. It can be a house payment. It could be a boat payment. It can be all this, you know what I mean? You have to, and it's like one of those things, like there was a lot of stuff I know I did that it wasn't so much for me. It was just to stay up with the Jones, or it was to, like feel like you fit in. And that stuff is garbage. It really is. Because all that stuff depreciates, all that stuff you got to store, all that stuff you got to maintain. And it's like, how many times I'm, working on a boat or something. And I'm like, man, like everybody likes riding the boat. We have a good time and this and that, no, man, the one dude puked all over the side. That sucks. I got to clean that up, well, geez, man, Johnny's not storing this thing for me. Well, Johnny's not putting gas. Johnny's not putting plates on it. Johnny's not dealing with a flat tire. Geez, I don't know, man. Like this is kind of getting to be a lot. And then by the time you start compounding, especially if you're serious and you want to start running a business and stuff. I mean, you start getting all this stuff in and tools, and then you got to store the stuff. And like for me, I'm still constantly always trying to find a better way to organize things, and never still mastered that. But I can tell you one thing: a list does help. I like a list. But I get fired up, like I said, about with the younger generation, because there's just so much. I think so much is out there that just is BS. You know what I mean? There's just so many things I look at and I go, that's a lie. That's a lie. You don't need that. You don't. Why? It's like every time, just like I'm a very big opponent about like when you sign up to stuff, right? I don't like signing up, man. You better be Mr. Caleb, right? I mean, this company calls, right? You're young, right? He thinks they're going to do something good. It was Angie's List. And he's like on the phone. I thought he was talking to a chick. I thought he's talking to his girlfriend or something. I'm like, who the hell are you? Well, he's on the phone for like 30, 45 minutes. I'm like, man, like we're like mixing mud. I'm like, what's going on, man? And he's like, oh, it's, and I'm like, whoa, time out, man. You didn't come talk to Uncle Dave? Like, what's going on here, dude? Like, what do you know, well, yeah. And I'm like, you didn't give him a card, did you? He's like, well, yeah, I gave him my like debit card. Oh my gosh. Why would you ever do that? You do not do that. Dude, I wish you would have talked. You call them right now. And he did, but they still to this day now keep calling him and harassing him about whatever. And I'm like, you give them a burner card, you know what I mean? Or you give them a credit card that you can either turn off or say this is fraudulent or whatever. But I was like, once you get hooked, dude, it's hard to unhook. If she had to constantly pay her credit cards, she didn't spend a lot for the credit cards. It was always like little stuff. And the thing was like, we had the money, right? We had cash. I had a lot of cash. And so she would do these. And it was like, I'm like, what, like, it was always the real kicker. I'd see her, we'd be at home or something, go out, restaurant or something, right? And I'd be looking at her feet and I go, did you get new shoes? And she'd go, oh, no, I've had these ones. And I don't know. She got so many. Oh, I don't know. And then another time I say, did you get new shoes? Oh, no. My mom bought these ones. My mom bought these for me. Oh, okay. Well, hey, man, next time your mom's buying shoes, I mean, can she get me a pair? I need some pair of new work boots. I buy those Red Wings at the time. I mean, I was a Red Wing guy. They're not cheap. And so, then she bought like 2 shoes. Well, I bought one for my mom wanted, she's going to pay me back. Okay. Well, can't really say much about that. Anyways, I remember when one time, right, good indication. I told her, I said, I think I was going to go out and check her spare tire. She's going on a trip or something. I wanted to make sure her spare tire was filled in case she, broke down or whatever. And I remember, boom, she hopped right off the couch, right? Turned it, I'll go do it. And I'm like, man, if you ask her to go outside and do something else, it's always like, can you do it? Like, I don't want to do it. And all this other stuff, right? Go out and water the plants, So I went later that night and I checked her trunk and I seen she had shoe boxes. They're not too bad, maybe 3, 4, right? But I just kind of went, oh, she obviously has some shoes that she bought or something, right? Okay, whatever. Well, then later down the road, as when divorce was finalized and we got separated and everything, well, like, it's just weird. I can't even explain it. It's a horrible. I remember like when we were getting, all I kept thinking is I felt like a sword literally came out of the sky. It was like God sent it, man. Just boom, hit me right in the chest, right in the rib cage. And I remember I was like almost like hyperventilating. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like we shouldn't do this. And they go in there and they treat you like a chunk of meat. Like, I mean, they're asking these questions. I remember they asked something about like, could you be, currently, they use all these high terms, a judge and stuff, but could you basically, could you be pregnant? And then it's like, you're sitting there and you're like, you got all these questions fired and you're just like, oh my God, like you're sitting there like, when's the last, like, that would be not good if like then she is. And it's like, I don't think so. I don't think it's been how many, and all these things. And like I said, they treat, well, anyways, right. I thought I was good. Right. They told me through the court system that basically I took care of the house and she had to take care of her student loans. And so I thought I was good. Right. I got the judge, man. I watched Dukes of Hazzard. Right. I watched Dukes of Hazzard and the judge is everything. Well, come to find out later on, she's not paying. It screwed up my credit horribly. I'm just starting a business. I went to bank after bank, so I don't really have a real fond thing with banks. I use them, but I use them to my advantage, but I know how the system is rigged. And I didn't, they your credit shot, all this crap. And I'm just like, but I pay all my bills. Like, and they're like, yeah, but you got this like student loan. That's not mine. I got a paper. It says, doesn't matter. It's in the system. So, but she did make, like I said, she had a pretty decent job where she worked. So she was bringing in, but the extra $200 to $300 a week, helped pay for food or some kind of utilities and stuff like that. And all of a sudden when that's gone, like I said, I was just like, what do? Do I pay my insurance or do I pay my taxes? And I thought, well, if I don't pay my taxes, because I didn't know how long that stuff takes, right? I didn't know I'm thinking like within like 2 weeks, they're going to come knocking on my door and kick me out of my house. But that wasn't the, so I paid my taxes. I had to drop my insurance. And then, of course, right, all this blowback, right? A lot of people don't know about the blowback. I find out that when I reissue my insurance a couple months later, after I got my money, to pay them, they decided to decline me on my my insurance. They said, we won't insure you. And I'm like, what do you mean you won't insure me? Like, you've been insuring me for years and now you won't insure me. It's the same house. I mean, the same address, nothing changed. I just turned it off, turned it back on. No, somebody sent an adjuster, whoever out there, and come to find out, the roof wasn't in the best shape. I knew it was under the roof because they told me how there was metal and stuff underneath. And so I knew the valleys. The valleys didn't look good, but there was metal underneath. The roof didn't leak, right? But now they won't insure me. Great. So whatever it was, $15,000, whatever. Because now, of course, once you open up the roof, hey, it needs a little more insulation, right? And then if you, I don't think we found any bad boards, but you had to tear it open. So it just starts compounding. It really does. And so it just, and the problem is if you don't have insurance, I can't have the mortgage, and the list goes on. Ooh. Got a new video up tonight. Sweet. Watching that. What does he got here? Ooh, did I miss one? Somehow, I like that idea. Evan, park model trailer. Which idea, Eric? Honestly, Holmes or Dave's? Who's behind the music? I love it. A new video. Sweet. Is it already uploaded? I'll have to make sure. It's like Rich. First in a campground. I'm seeing a lot of older, wealthier people live there for most of the year, and then go to Florida. Own a lot, $1,500 for all electric water a year. Yeah, that's honestly, I've been thinking about doing something like that. There's really not much holding me back. But yeah, it's so nice to have that kind of freedom, Time with the Smiths. There you go. I like that, Rich B. Would y'all get your fathers or father figures or Father's Day? Dad got a new Milwaukee sander. Ooh, nice. Some payments for being my helper. All right. Yeah, I think what did I do? I did the Blatz blue ribbon. I found a hat for my dad, and then I got him like a Chewy toy thing for his dog, his new dog. And then my stepdad, I got him some drill bits because he always needs tools. And everybody needs drill bits. Everybody, even me. Like, I can never have enough drill bits. So I got a nice Milwaukee. I've been getting them all, like, everything's always like switched over to Milwaukee for him. So, but I did the ones with the 3/8 adapters because I've been finding out with my Milwaukee drill, I got the case. The problem is they keep spinning. My chuck doesn't bite down hard anymore. So I'm thinking I might buy the ones with a little chuck on them so they, I don't have to keep twisting it and get stuck. Ooh, there you go. M12 or M18. M18. Oh, that's a bad mamma jamba right there. That's nice. Yep. Eric says he says, I always need drill bits. I'm telling you. So I've been thinking, I thought, you know what? The Milwaukee's might be a little cheaper too. Even though when I looked at them and it was like $44, I was like, oh my gosh. I said, $44. You got to be kidding me. Of course, the DeWalt's next to them and it's like 30 something, 33. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, I'll just get the Milwaukee because they're red and it matches, so I did that, but I was thinking I might just buy those. I was hoping that those 3/8, I don't think they will. I really still like the case. I got that black case with the screw on top. Oh man, those are fantastic. But I guess if I have to go back and use the Milwaukee case for the screw, I just right now I've been revamping the trailer. I put a picture up. I don't know if anybody sees those posts I put up. I put some pictures up once in a while. Thought about trying to do some on the old, not much of a TikToker, but I thought about trying some on there. But posting, I've been refurbishing my old trailer that would probably work really good for Evan. I think it's right around 4 foot wide. It's only 4 foot wide, 20 foot long. I hauled a lot of garage doors over the years, and she took a beating. I built that thing. I remember the garage I built it in. It was so covered in smoke. I had the garage door open. It was cold out. The man door was open a little bit. There was so much smoked in there from all the fumes from welding. But basically what it was, we had a Sam's Club. So basically like a big grocery store or whatever. They were getting rid of all their shopping corral cart things, where you push your shopping carts into. They were getting rid of them all. I don't know why. They're getting in bad shape or whatever. I thought they were going out of business. They didn't go out of business. But anyways, I had my business partner buddy worked there, and he called and said, "Hey, would you want these?" And I was like, dude, no matter what, I was like, it's scrap metal. And at a time when you're just starting off business and that's your only income, it's like, well, hell yeah. I mean, like, let's do it. So we went and picked them up at nighttime. Maybe we were stealing them. I don't know, but we picked them up. And so I started thinking about it, and I had 2 pieces of metal for some reason sitting around. I think I was making like some hitches and stuff once in a while for my trailers or for my trucks or whatever. So I had that. I already had the axle. I think the axle was I think it was out of a snowmobile trailer, I think. And I cut it down. Oh, that's right. It was, because it used to have the really wide tires and they would wear out. I remember. So I only had like $60 in this trailer. I had the wood, I had the plywood, I had plywood down the side, I had the angle iron, but I welded the cross members and all this stuff. I put this trailer together. I don't even remember why I so much wanted that trailer. Like I said, I guess I just didn't realize. I think because we had the Ford Rangers, we had the pickup trucks, and we just needed more to haul, like when you're doing commercial, if you got like a 12 by 12 and a 14 by 14. And so I put this thing together. I remember on the back, I had I think it was from our we did a parade. And so I had a sign still that was on the parade, the float that said, affordable door. And so I had that as the tailgate. I think I had a couple on the side to advertise. So I thought about recreating, trying to maybe see if I could get the kiddos to get some stencils or whatever and paint those and try to recreate that a little bit on the trailer, and I just have them so I could screw them on or whatever, but it was pretty cool. It was a good time. So I've been rebuilding. PBR. That's right. You ever see that one song? Who's that guy? Sucks or something like that. If I see it, maybe I'll send you. Ever see that one where he sings that guitar song real slow and he's like drinking? He's got a couple girls that are in the water doing whatever, and he's like PBR or something. I can't remember. If I find it, Rich, I'll send it to you. It was a cool little clip. You might have seen it. I don't do the TikTok. Yeah, I know it's not my really cup of tea either. But I thought I've been trying to expand my horizon on this stuff. I'm turning into an old man, and so I don't know. But like I said, I'll post the ones, but it's like I can't see. It doesn't show when I post a picture. I don't see much feedback on it, and I for whatever reason it doesn't show in my studio app. Like I normally see the most, they're kind of glitchy, but I do see most of them. But when I post a picture, I don't see it. I don't know what there is for interaction. I don't even know if it's live. I don't know if it's, if it even gets out there. So it's always kind of like, well, I guess, like I was going to take a picture. I probably got a picture I could post yet. I got a picture of the door handle, the lock. I use a slide lock. I customized it. I just had to add that little flair of my redneck ingenuity to it. So Rusty says, me too. I only use U.S. government to spy on me. I know. Isn't that crazy? I knew they weren't going to. I just was like, they ain't going to get rid of it. Somebody will buy them out or something. They sitting there and threaten all that stuff, and I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. If you guys watch the cop videos like I do, oh my gosh, it's scary. I think I just seen on what do you call it? A street light, a traffic light. I was like, I seen something the other day and I was like, what is that? And I was like, that looks like a camera. I can't say for sure. I didn't dead eye hawk eye it because I was driving. I couldn't pay attention, but I was like, I've heard about these. And I was like, it's crazy how they'll track people through different states. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're being so monitored. It's just not even funny. I watched a lot of the police ones And I just can't believe how much they go off the phone. Well, we looked at the records and it showed they were here and it showed movement and it showed they had an alibi and, well, it couldn't have been them, but it was their vehicles there and the key fob, like, all these things where it's like, wow, like it's getting just crazy how much, they're tracking us. It's just, which is like, it is, I don't know. It's just eerie to me. It's just eerie to me. I don't plan on doing nothing, bad, but boy, you have to watch it out there. Anywho, I'm going to jump off here. Toby? Was it Toby? I don't think it was Toby. I'll send it to you. Some dude, I forget what his name. I think my dad sent it to me or something, maybe. I can't remember. It was just talks about some weird drink or something. Not Toby Keith or anything, but I'll send it to you if I find it. All right, guys, I'm heading out. I got a few things, like I said, wrap up for the night. Thanks for being here. Thanks for entertaining me. It's fun. I really do enjoy it. Evan, wish you luck. And I'm going to make sure I check out the video. Hopefully it's live already. So I want to see. Subscribe to Evans. There you go. There you go. See, you should put that in the beginning. Subscribe to Evans Garage Door Service. Exactly. Got to make sure you do that. Plug that in there. You can always do that. You're always more than welcome to. Oh, you saw it? Oh, man. Dang it. Rich beat me. Son of a gun. All right. Over and out, you guys. We'll see you later. Have a good night. Keep those fingers.